love you.
Okay. Hey, Jeremy, you want to sign some of these?
Oh, you're doing great.
Are you all from Belleville High School? Yeah.
Do you have an idea on the first meeting?
I don't know, but I have.
Oh, that's it.
I'm out of town for 2 weeks.
Anything I can do to help you out, just let me know. All right, well,
So you'll find out tomorrow when you're going to go. Did you know that?
No. That's that with Peter.
Oh, the super sensitive mic. Yes. And 2 of them pointed at me.
It's because you're not loud enough. Oh, that is loud.
I can't hear you. I need my pen. I need my pen so Wagner can steal it from me.
Are you leaving again? That's my last chance, man.
Well, this is till 2 years. For 2 years.
I guess I realize I'm sitting here.
I feel like 80's more looking than that. Mike, you've changed. Hey, Dad, can I go with you?
I was wondering where
Aiden, are you there?
sitting today when I walked in.
I can't see through your hair. That's my oldest.
Well, yeah, it's
But I have my
nice to be able to be kind of
This one and
to the side and have a question.
I guess I should make sure. He's a teenager now, but he's that and he does this looking for his hair. Sounds just like my mom.
See, it does like tonight's initials. That'd be from 2020.
Hey, how you doing? Greg looks like the UPS guy. I'll shield you. I'll take the board for you.
There's another one. It's alright. I didn't see hers. Yeah, so
Sure will offend other people.
my friend's for it.
Are we waiting for Mike, Jeremy, or?
No, he's not going to be.
No, he's not. They're, Joy's getting some copies for the high school kids to get their agenda signed.
Oh, cool.
That way they can run out of here whenever they want.
Yeah.
Get their homework signed first.
They must have a government teacher that actually requires them to show up to these things. The heck? No. We're taking a while, and that's a good meeting that I want to stay. Just if you see me.
Just don't ask any dumb questions.
You know, I'm,
What am I gonna do?
in my classroom, and it's where the
this authorization.
so, and it's from my government class.
He said, don't even ask me again.
And I asked Jessica if she's
Oh, that's the one thing I'm good at. I've been practicing all my life.
yeah.
That's my mom.
That's no joke. Can you ask the biggest question?
Something tells me you hear that from me.
I was a very inquisitive kid, so I asked some questions. But it's helped me out a lot now because, you know, I don't hold back when, especially like, you'll be sitting in the thing for work or whatever, and nobody will say anything. That's got a bunch of questions. Yeah, it gets you interaction.
Over half of them were sick.
Oh, really?
Loud chills, fever.
No, we could like take that and if they approve it.
Yes, that was a good game.
They all got it. You got the big side and win.
A lot of them got it.
I would too. Which I had no interest. I mean, you did a little younger, a lot younger than I did.
Well, that was my grade. Like, I had Disappointed. I thought you'd have a Rolex.
I was just a partier, that's why.
What's that? I thought you'd have a Rolex.
I had children.
I love this one.
I wasn't
This is just an This is just a.
All right, does anybody, before we get going, does anybody else want Auditor Vicky Urbanek's autograph? That's what we're all lined up to do. I get it now while you can, it's worth something.
But then you have to write an essay about this meeting.
They're not here. How they gonna write it?
Well, that's.
All right, call the meeting to order, everybody can stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got quite the crew here today.
Need a roll call, Madam Auditor.
Councilmember Rivas,
Here.
Councilmember Bozick,
Present.
Councilmember Brickner. Dude. Councilmember Graham. Here. Councilmember Jessen,
Here.
Councilmember Sims,
Present.
and Councilmember Wagner.
Here.
6 present.
All right, we got a quorum. Mr. Brickner had a tragedy, so I know tragedy, a death in the family, so that's why he's not here, so keep him in our thoughts. We've got minutes, approval of minutes for the budget hearing, final reading October 18th, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion second, discussion. All in favor of the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. First reading, Madam Auditor. Is this your last first reading?
Yes.
Thank you, Joy.
Notice to taxpayers of proposed additional appropriations. Notice is hereby given the taxpayers of Porter County, Indiana, that the proper legal officers of Porter County, Indiana, will meet in the Porter County Government Administration Building at 155 Indiana Avenue, Valparaiso, Indiana, on December 6, 2022, at 5:30 p.m. to consider the following appropriation adjustments to county budgets for the year 2022 and to transact any further business which might come before the council. General Fund, elections, absentee board, $5,500. Office supplies, $3,000. Contractual attorney, $7,877. Office equipment, $2,400. Accident report fund, data processing equipment, $24,000. Clerk perpetuation fund, software rental fees, $6,000. Emergency medical services fund, building and structures, $29,945. EMA donation fund, other equipment, $3,282.25. ARPA LATCF fund, venue assistance, $50,000. Indiana Dunes tourism, hourly, $10,000. FICA, $1,000. Building maintenance supplies, $3,500. Training and ed, $2,000. Maintenance agreements, $2,000. Building and structures R&M, $1,000. Taxpayers appearing at such meeting shall have a right to be heard thereon. The appropriation adjustments as finally made will be referred to the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance where applicable. The DLGF will make a written determination as to the sufficiency of funds to support the appropriations made. Signed, Vicky Urbanek, Auditor of Porter County, published in the Chesterton Tribune, November 24th, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. We started this a couple meetings ago. I'll continue on. I know there'll be a new president up here in January, so however that person wants to follow up with the rules of conduct, if you want to have, public discussion on agenda items before or after the meeting. I know I had somebody say they like it after the meeting. I really don't have a preference. To comment before the votes was my thinking, but, to make a comment after too, I don't really have a preference, but I'll read the code of conduct one last time, fly through it real fast, and open the floor if anyone wants to talk about any agenda items. The public comment session, which will immediately follow first reading, is provided as an opportunity for residents to address the Porter County Council about agenda items. Participation is encouraged. However, to respect others who wish to speak, public comment is not intended to be a public conversation. Before speaking, a person must provide the name and address. Exceptions will be considered. A speaker will be given a reasonable amount of time as determined by the council president to make a comment and/or express an opinion. No person will be recognized more than once per meeting. All speakers must remain at the podium unless an exception is granted. Any speaker that engages in personal attacks and/or acts in an uncivil manner will be stopped and may be prohibited from future opportunities to publicly address the council. The Porter County Council members and and other officials are available, after the meeting for questions and more extended discussion. So with that said, if you guys have an agenda or the auditor just read it off, if there's anybody that would like to speak about an agenda item, more than welcome to step up to the microphone over there. So this would be the time for public comment, not at the end of the meeting. So seeing none, I'm going to pause for a second because this is the last meeting for some people that have represented this county. I know I showed up at the commissioners meeting earlier, and the commissioners gave Commissioner Good and our auditor, Vicki Urbanek, a plaque for their service for this county. And I really can't say enough about what's happened in this county over the last 8 years, roughly. The amount of work and collaboration, cooperation between the council, the board of commissioners, and that only being made possible by the auditor's office and her staff and team by always having the information available in real time. If we're here, we can have debates in real time because the information's here. Or if we're asking questions, they get us the right information in a reasonable amount of time. It's always the right, accurate information. So our success it's really been, just on the commissioners and the council communicating, talking, and always working basically really through, the auditor's office, to see if anything's possible, where we're at with things. It's been a great time. I'm finishing my 12th year here on the council, and the first 4 were painful. They really were. They were. I mean, just to be honest, the infighting, the lack of communication sometimes, but we fought through it, and then things just took off. They talked about the $30 million in facility upgrades that we did in this county. $30 million. I think it's plus because we started with the front of this building, that was, somewhat of an embarrassment. Then we moved over to the animal shelter and did that. Then we bonded for the $30 million. So it's $30 million plus. Then we did the stormwater bond. And I think, Bob, you mentioned collectively $35 to $45 million just on stormwater and bridges. Put those two together, that's 75, and it doesn't include the extra money we put in the roads. 75 to $80 million really last 4 to 6 years we've done in facilities and infrastructure. And that just happens if we're communicating and talking and getting the right information from that office. No, we're certainly not done, but some key components of that success won't be with us in January. So, I hope that we can continue on, but it just take a moment to recognize, Commissioner Good, as president of that board of commissioners, was somebody that wasn't afraid to move forward on those projects. It's not easy. I've always said, some people have been, I know some people have been around county government for 20, 30 years and didn't even come close to tackling, those kind of tasks. Because it's easy to say no, because no really usually doesn't have a follow-up. Yes means you have to see something through, So we've said yes to a lot and done a lot. So, and then the auditor, Vicki, your staff, Tony, it's just, it's been amazing. I've worked with, another auditor. I've seen other auditors prior to, and it can be a mess. So I just wanted to take the time to, before we get into crazy, and I'll do as much as I usually can and fly through this stuff, just to step back for a second and appreciate, what you guys have done. Vicki, Tony, Jeff's not here, but, Laura, you're over there. Your board has just been phenomenal to work with, over the last 8 years. Thank you. Thank you. With that, I know, because we have a great secretary too, she always takes care of us. So we don't got you guys a plaque, Tony and Vicki, but, hopefully maybe you can get these in your office for the next couple of days before you take them home, but, we didn't get Jeff any flowers. So, just thank you guys, and this is not even close to the appreciation. there's going to be a big hole left in the county, and, I hope the taxpayers knew what they were doing. We'll give them the opportunity to, come in here and take their rightful roles in county government. And real quick, and you guys can say whatever you want, we've always kind of appreciated anybody that's sat up here. And this, just a quick plaque for Eric Wagner. Woo-hoo! Eric didn't spend a lot of time up here, but Eric, it's more, an appreciation for you stepping in and filling the shoes that you had to fill. Bob Hopperod, who was an institution, in this place for so long. And, you came in here and you sat in that seat for Bob, and you represented him in that seat well, and that's not easy, and Bob would have been proud of you and what you did in taking that. So, Eric, thank you for serving. Bob,
Did you talk about the seat because you had to sit on me?
I mean, that was the hardest part.
Was that the hardest part?
That was the hardest part.
So, with that, I'll open the floor up to anybody else that wants to speak, real fast, before we dive into business.
Thank you, Auditor's Office. You guys have done an awesome job the few years that I've been involved. And Eric, I already like you. You're a good guy.
Well, I certainly would like to just say it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to walk down and get information with the speed of a, and having knowledgeable persons down there, just fabulous. And I'm looking forward to hoping that it's going to continue, because you've left hopefully, and I know you have, a great trail. And I'm just looking forward, and I want to wish you guys the very best of whatever you choose to do in your future endeavors. Thank you for what you've done for us. And Eric, you're going to be missed. And I've already told you I love your green sweater.
Thank you. We good?
May I say something?
No. You've had 8 years to talk. Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. It's very, very much appreciated. And it was mentioned that the success of our auditor's office involves a team, and I cannot speak more highly of everyone who works in the auditor's office. They are the people who make it work. It's been a joy these past 8 years, but when we talk about what has happened in the last 8 years, do keep in mind how significant some of the things that have happened. I don't have anything prepared, so bear with me on this. Many people here, you look at the screens and you see how we handle our budgets and our fund ledgers. We did a conversion of our whole financial system. That was a major, major endeavor. Complementing it was our first timekeeping system. Prior to whatever year it was, county employees only wrote down their time on pieces of paper. For better transparency and accountability, we now have a timekeeping system where employees clock in and out, and we have lots more information about the time that they have served. In addition, the foundation. The foundation was a major, major accomplishment in these past 8 years. A whole new essential department had to be formed. We all had to learn how to handle the foundation. The foundation follows its own separate statute, and it has to have its own financial statements separate from the counties, even though it's rolled into the counties. And it also has its own tax return. That's 2 projects that we have gladly done in our auditor's office in-house. And of course, we were following a new state law whereby we are now one of approximately 17 Indiana counties that must follow GAAP reports. And I can talk for 5 hours about the GAAP, but I won't. It's a major, major financial statement that brings us in compliance with national generally accepted accounting principles, and it really gives much more transparency over our financial statements. And we also have been doing that in-house as well. There's been so much more. The RDC was really not very active, but what the commissioners have done with the RDC and with the council has just been dramatic. And yes, you mentioned the bond issues. That was a huge project that we worked with the Commissioner's Office and the Council in the Auditor's Office. So it has really been an amazing 8 years, all the accomplishments that the county has done. And I've been thrilled to be a part of it, so thank you. And thank you to the voters for letting me be here. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no doubt you're leaving the county in a better place than it was when you got here. And, I think it's the shoes to be filled by, what's done in the last 8 years are massive. So we'll see the benchmark is set. So we'll see how we do over the next 2, 4, 8 years. I won't be around for 8, trust me. So, but all right, we'll roll on then. The commissioners, CCD fund. There's a transfer of $70,000 from motor vehicles to power, $80,000 from consultants to power. Reason need transfer to get through the end of the year. Emergency services fund, additional $29,945 to buildings and structures. Appropriation needed to pay invoices for heart rate monitors.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's a motion and second. Further discussion on the transfer and the additional. Hello, Commissioner Blaney. How are you?
Happy holidays.
No further discussion. We get a roll call on the transfer. It was a motion and a second for both? For the additional? Can we get a roll call for both the transfer and the additional?
Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Sims.
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner.
Yes.
And Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
6-0. All right.
Is that it? We good with it?
All of you.
It's been a
Losing
good
my
run.
mind.
Thank you.
Gotta keep going.
You're not going anywhere, so we'll see you in January.
Yes, you will.
So, all right.
Merry Christmas, Commissioner.
Courts, Judge Clymer, General Fund, County Courts, a transfer of $9,000 from law books to interpreter. The reason appropriation needed because these funds have been both depleted for the general fund, interpreter account, and interpreter grant fund to cover interpreter expenses through the end of 2022.
Make the motion for the transfer.
It's
Second.
a motion and a second on the transfer. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
It's an awesome snowflake you guys did. Like that.
Coroner. Coroner General Fund transfer, $3,750 from medical and hospital services to hourly. Reason, transfer needed because there is a shortage through the end of the year for standard deputy pay plus scene call phone release stipends.
Motion for the transfer?
Motion.
Second.
Seconds. Discussion. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Hello.
No discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Thank you.
Highway.
Have a good night, Cindy.
Local roads and streets, transfer $20,000 from motor vehicles to tires and tubes. Transfer $20,000 from motor vehicles to vehicle repairs and maintenance. Reason, need transfer due to increased cost of snowplow truck tires, increased costs and repairs. Good evening.
Evening.
Motion to approve both.
Second.
There's a motion, a couple seconds on the approval of the two transfers. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the two transfers signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you. Sir?
You.
Motion's carried.
20,000.
Parks and Recreation. Come on, we keep doing this. Go flying right through.
Rolling.
General Fund, transfer $6,000 from salaries to hourly. Reason, transfer needed to cover remaining hourly pay for the rest of the year, 2020. Another transfer, $1,500 from telephones and internet services to uniforms and clothing. Reason, transfer needed to cover costs of outfitting field and office staff. Good evening.
Motion for both transfers?
Second. Motion, a second on the two transfers. We're going to get Andy to his daughter's concert tonight. Questions, discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Same sign. EMA. EMA General Fund, a transfer of $300 from training and education to telephone and internet service. Another transfer, $800 from training and education to other supplies. Reason, transfer needed to cover costs to the end of the year. There's also an additional, if you want me to keep going, EMA Donation Fund. There's additional $3,282.25 to other equipment. Reason, additional appropriation needed to purchase CPR training equipment. Good evening.
Motion on the two transfers and the additional.
Second.
Motion and a second on the floor for the two
Second.
transfer and additional. There's questions,
For
discussion.
discussion. I'd
Have
like
at
to, are you going going to start CPR training out there?
We've been doing CPR training since I've been here. Some of our volunteers are instructors. We train the highway department people on
Okay.
CPR, AED, and then any other department. The donation was from NIPSCO to get new equipment because the mannequins have different requirements now than they used to, so these are upgrades.
Do you charge the other departments for CPR? It's all free?
Yep.
Is that a service you offer to any department that would like it?
Yes.
So it's announced here, if you guys want it.
Yep.
Training right there, for free.
Andy, you volunteering in case one of us
I
drops?
don't know how to do it, but yes, I'll learn. I want to learn that and stop the bleed, by the way.
We have an instructor for that too.
For stop the bleed? Great.
Further discussion? If we get a roll call on the two transfers and the additional, Madam Auditor.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Sims?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
And Councilmember Bozick.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Tourism.
Merry Christmas.
Indiana Dunes Tourism Fund. We got a list of additionals. We get my breath. Additional, $10,000 hourly, $1,000 to FICA. Appropriation, the reason appropriation needed to cover 2 additional part-time seasonal employees for bike rental business. Another additional, $3,500 to building maintenance supplies. Reason, appropriation needed because prices for supplies has increased and building requires more maintenance as it ages. A third additional, $2,000 to training and education. Reason, the need for professional development and training of staff exceeded the amount budgeted for the year. Fourth additional, $2,000 to maintenance agreements. Appropriation needed to cover the cost of labor and building requires more maintenance as it ages. Fifth additional, $1,000 to building and structures repair and maintenance. Reason, appropriation needed for repairs and maintenance. Good
Motion to
evening.
approve.
Second?
Motion and second to approve all 5 additionals. Discussion.
Oh, go ahead.
Are you sure? Okay, I just had a question. For next year, did you budget for the bike people? The
We
bike
did.
rental people? Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember.
And is that to pay for people for this past year?
This is for the past year. So we purchased the business last year in November, at the end of November, so the budget had already been done and approved, so we didn't know we were going to be buying the business. So that's why that wasn't in this year's budget.
Bought the business, we service the bikes, we locate them properly, we do all that in-house.
Yes. Yes, everything's in-house. It's our 100% our business.
How'd it go?
It went really well, and we did not do any marketing. It's our first year in the bike rental business, so we just wanted to just see how it went, and we were really impressed. So we already have our marketing plan put in place, so we're excited. We think, especially once the Calumet Trail gets done, you can go east and west, it's going to be significant.
Is it making money?
We covered the cost of the business this year.
That's awesome.
And that's without any marketing. So
Awesome.
we think there's some real strong potential.
Yeah, thank you.
Further discussion? We get a roll call on the 5 additionals.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Sims?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
And Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
0.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk and Board of Elections and Registration. We've got some additionals and some transfers, and I believe I'll go through this, but I believe there's some questions that the auditor would want to jump into. So let me get going. Board of Elections and Registration General Fund, there's an additional $5,500 to absentee board. Reason appropriation needed due to the increased number of boards and additional hours incurred from the election. Another additional $3,000 to office supplies. Reason, appropriation needed for additional expenses due to no copiers or envelope printer available. Another additional $7,877 to contractual attorney. Reason, appropriation needed to cover attorney expenses. Fourth additional, $2,400 to office equipment over $100. The reason, appropriation needed for replacement desk printer due to excessive use. And we got a transfer, $1,408 from advertising to gas, fuel, and lubrication. $8,500 from advertising to food and groceries, and $4,000 from advertising to telephone and internet. The reason for those 3 transfers to pay the 2022 invoices from the elections: poll workers' meal stipend, fuel invoices from Porter County Highway, and MiFi data. That's the board of election. You guys want me to stop? You want me to just add the clerk perpetuation fund? There's an additional for the clerk perpetuation fund, additional $6,000 to software rental fees, appropriation needed for additional years of maintenance at discounted rates. You on the next page?
No.
There's Number of additionals, 4 additionals, 3 transfers, and another additional from the perpetuation fund.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the additionals and the transfers. Discussion, and there's a waiving of our auditor who says, hold on.
Right, with the transfer, we could do the 8,500 transfer, but why don't we take those other 2 transfers from the overtime line item? So the 8,500 from advertising to food and groceries, that's good. But then the other 2 transfers, we could take it from overtime. She doesn't have enough in her advertising line item to affect that transfer.
So the
The pending claims.
the $1,408 and the $4,000, you're saying take it from overtime?
I amend my motion.
Overtime. We talked about this.
Okay, and is that all?
Yes.
So you amend the motion to, does the second concur with that?
Yes.
So is there any further discussions or corrections from the auditor? If not, can we get a roll call on?
I just have
Yes.
a real quick question. When you do $2,400 for printers, do you work with Lee and get, thank you, that's it.
Further? Seeing none, can we get a roll call on the additionals and the transfers?
Councilmember Sims.
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
And Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
6-0.
Well, Clerk Bailey, I've not heard any complaints, about the election, so thank you. Good job. to your
Not
staff.
about the election. It was very good.
I mean, maybe the results, but that's my personal opinion.
Won't talk about that.
Porter County Expo Center, Lori, looks like ARPA, I apologize. ARPA Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund. There's an additional $50,000 of venue assistance. Appropriation needed to get Expo to the remainder of the 2020 year in January and February of 2023. Good evening.
Hi.
Now, Madam Auditor, this was an additional grant that came in at the end of the year, right? I think, was it $100,000 or something that we're using?
Yes. We get half of it in this fiscal year and the second half in the next fiscal year. And this is part of a program that's part of the American Rescue Plan Act. It is completely separate from the one that we all talk about as ARPA. That's the SLFRF program. This is the LATCF program. I can't say it. It's a hard
Try again for
acronym,
us one time.
But federal people can say this really well. LATCF program, yes.
I knew she would.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Does this save us money, or is this being used for something else, or
Being used for operating.
it's for operating? Okay.
Seeing none, can we get a roll call on the additional appropriation of $50,000?
Councilmember Wagner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
And Councilmember Sims.
Yes.
6-0.
Extension Office. Looks like a general fund, a couple transfers. $500 from travel to maintenance agreements, $150 from travel to dues and subscriptions. Reason transfer needed to cover maintenance contracts and subscription costs. There's another transfer of $650 from travel to furniture and fixtures over $100. Reason transfer needed to replace the table in the meeting room. Good evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the 2 transfers signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motions carry. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Weights and measures. General fund, number of transfers. As you guys can see, there's a lot of transfers on here for, it's just cleaning up the end of the year. That's kind of why we,
It's not 70,000.
no, I was saying in general. Then I kind of explain, give you some time to come up here and explain why we're doing all the transfers.
Hey, I'm
And
just happy I get to see you guys 3 times this year.
You saw me and Greg 4.
maybe we can make some moves or something and defund something early on, so you gotta come back next year and unappropriate some monies.
I'll make a motion on all the
Second.
The motion is second. On all the transfers, you don't mean to read them?
No, we're good.
No, you're good, as on the agenda. There's a motion is second on all the transfers. They're all small, 500,
good
225,
formats.
400, 300, 225.
Read them anyway.
All in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
IT transfer.
Have a chance to oppose.
General fund, $14,652.96 from data processing equipment Two maintenance agreements. Reason, transfer of funds needed for maintenance and support for network security subscriptions. Transfer of $15,000 from other equipment to maintenance agreements. Reason, transfer of funds needed for various maintenance agreements for telephone, remote access, and security. We got a Form 144. What happened here? Part-time up to $18. Reason, need to change the wage from up to $13 per hour to up to $18 per hour. Retroactive, 11/8/22. Looks like you got a couple transfers, and you want to amend a 144 to increase the hourly.
Did we not do that in the?
What happened was last year, I thought I had raised the cap to 15, and I didn't. I hired an hourly person this year under the assumption it was 15. I had to bring her into 13. I'm not asking for any additional money. I'm just asking for a change in the cap of what I can pay. And I only plan to pay her 15 at this time, not 18. I just don't want to keep coming back to ask for a higher cap.
I'll make a motion.
Motion on the two transfers and the 144 change.
Yes.
Motion and a second.
Yes.
Discussion. Further discussion?
Is that change reflected in the 2023 salary ordinance? Or no?
No, but if you approve it, we will add that to it
Perfect, thanks.
in the final version.
Further discussion?
Let me just question, so the additional money going into maintenance agreements, what happened or what changed?
Prices just keep going up.
Is that,
And I'm hoping this year, well, I think I've done for the most year, moved all of our contracts so they're due earlier in the year, so I don't have to revisit this in December from now on.
so are these amounts,
They're just shortfalls that I have contracts.
there's only 3 weeks left or whatever, right? So is that
But-
all for 2022?
Yes, I'm going to pay bills in the morning,
So we owe?
yes.
Gotcha.
Did the contracts just expire and a new one came into
Yeah.
play?
Further discussion? Can we get a roll call on the transfers and the Form 144?
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
Councilmember Bozak.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Sims.
Yes.
And Councilmember Wagner.
Yes.
6-0.
Yeah.
Mr. President, real quick, question. Where are we at with the updating the AV in here with the ARPA
I
money?
got an email from the company, gosh, it's been like 3 weeks ago. The equipment's ordered, some of it's back ordered, I think we're gearing towards February, if I remember. If I find the email, I can forward it to you.
I was just curious. Thank you for the update.
And as part of that, to live stream these
Yes.
meetings?
We're going live as soon as somebody else takes over. I want one of those seats in the corner.
I like my seat now. I didn't before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Sheriff. It's like, almost get your own page here. We got some additional transfers out of sheriff, jail, DOC. So I'll start off with accident report fund, an additional $24,000 to data processing equipment. Reason, transfer needed to cover cost of upgrading accessory connection equipment. Firearms training fund, a transfer, $10,000 from ammunition to other equipment. Reason, transfer needed to cover cost of updating firearms equipment. Sex and violent offenders fund, transfer $1,000 from data processing equipment to training and education. Transfer needed to cover cost of sex offender training. Drug task force fund, a transfer, $2,025 from motor vehicles to other supplies. Reason, transfer needed to cover undercover supplies. That's out of the sheriff. The jail, there's a jail fund, jail general fund, a transfer of $1,234 from medical and dental to medical and hospital services. Reason, transfer needed to cover the cost of inmate medical for the remainder of 2022. Federal DOC general fund, a transfer, $2,951 from ammunition to medical and hospital services. Reason, transfer needed to cover the cost of inmate medical for the remainder of 2022. Good evening.
Good evening.
There you go, you got some additionals, you got an additional and some transfers and a variety of funds.
I'll make a motion to approve.
It's a motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion.
What is transfer needed to update firearms equipment? Just new guns?
No, we already got the new guns. This is to get the, not accessories, but the lights.
Or sighting, or new sights.
I liked accessories. It sounded cool. Bedazzled.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that's what they're doing.
Not really.
And you got some transfers coming from ammunition. You didn't need that much ammunition this year?
Correct.
Is
Yeah,
that,
the cost, we had gotten an additional for 2022 for ammunition because during COVID, the cost of ammo had gone so high and we didn't need it all. come down a little.
Further discussion? Since there's an additional in there, can we get a roll call on all the transfers in the additional?
Yes, Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Sims.
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner.
Yes.
And Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you.
President,
Yes.
if I may, rather than wait to the attorney's report, since the sheriff is here right now, can we address the question of the restatement?
Yes, please, absolutely.
The sheriff's pension plan, they restated the plan itself. There were just incorporating the amendments that had already been voted on through 2013 through 2022. All of those amendments had been voted on by the council, by the merit board, and by the sheriff. So the restatement is basically just restating the plan and incorporating those amendments into one document. I don't frankly believe that it's absolutely necessary that the council vote on that restatement, but I don't think it hurts to do that because we've not made any changes. There's been no changes. So I would request that a motion be made to approve the restatement of the pension plan as set forth in the most recent restatement.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, yeah.
Quick question. Why are they doing it if it's not necessary?
I think it's a housekeeping matter more than anything else, was my understanding. It was incorporating the amendments into one single document rather than having an old pension plan document that had 4 or 5 different amendments.
Yeah.
Now it's one.
Yeah, it's just restating the plan. After so long, when you get a bunch of amendments, you just recreate a new document. And
Okay.
those amendments become part of the document, so it's a restatement. So, all right, any further discussion? See none, roll call, Madam Auditor.
Okay. Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Sims.
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
And Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Treasurer, general fund transfer, $191.25 from contractual services to equipment other than vehicles. Transfer needed for office safety emergency repair. I think this is the one we pick on tonight.
Motion to approve.
He made you wait this whole time for $191?
Motion to approve.
Motion.
And then
Second.
he wants to pick on me.
Discussion. No discussion?
What's wrong with your safe? I gotta know.
It just needed, it like locked on,
Oh,
it like froze.
It sounded way cooler.
Further discussion? Got one question
Yeah, we
on
locked
it.
the employee inside, we had to keep him out.
All in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Auditor, transfer $6,400 from salaries to hourly. These in transfer needed help to assist with heavy year-end volume at front counter.
Yes, a couple of months ago, we had a vacancy in one of our full-time positions, and rather than fill the vacancy with a full-time person, we've had the opportunity to bring back one of our retired deputies on a part-time basis. So we're actually overall saving money this way. And because she is highly experienced, she's helping us with the end-of-the-year front counter work.
That's great.
Move to approve. Oh,
Second.
sorry.
The motion and a second on the transfer. Discussion. This is it. This is the opportunity right here. Great years, you guys want to get her. I don't know if
And
we've
I'm coming
ever,
back up in just a couple more.
but this is on a request. What happens if we vote it down?
Oh. Jeremy.
All in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
You're gonna miss them, aren't you?
Vicki, the answer's yes.
As she through her gritted teeth.
She wasn't always easy. She would fight with me. She would debate with me. She would argue with me. She would tell me no. And I'd go home and get the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Second reading.
Whereas it has been determined that it is now necessary to appropriate more money than was appropriated in the annual budget. Therefore, be it resolved by the Porter County Council of Porter County, Indiana, that for the expenses of the taxing unit The following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the funds named and for the purposes specified, subject to the laws governing the same. General fund, a total of $18,777. Accident report fund, $24,000. Clerk perpetuation fund, $6,000. Emergency medical services fund, $29,945. EMA donation fund, $3,282.25. 21.03 ARPA LATCA fund, $50,000, and Indiana Dunes Tourism, a total of $19,500. And that concludes second reading.
Your last second reading. I'll entertain a motion to approve second reading.
Motion to approve, second reading.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Seeing none, roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Sims?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
And Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
6-0.
All right. I think we did all right there. Andy, I don't know if we'll get you completely done, though. So, attorney's report.
Other than what we had just previously talked about, there's nothing new. We do have the Recorder's Office Perpetuation Fund, if you want me to address that now, Jeremy.
I mean, is there any other matter that may properly come before the council? The board? If not, we'll roll right in. Yeah, go ahead, roll right into the Recorder's Office. And I spoke with Recorder Harris. He asked if he needed to be here. I didn't think there was a reason for him to be here, so if you guys don't like that decision, be mad at me. But yeah, go ahead.
No, the last 5-6 years, the council has come to an agreement with the Recorder's Office to allocate a portion of their expenses from the perpetuation fund. Statutorily, the Indiana legislature permitted that. All that's required is that the recorder submit an affidavit to the council, which he did. It's included as a part of your materials, and I think I emailed that to you as well today. And we have to, if we approve that, then vote on an ordinance approving that, which I have also drafted the ordinance that should be a part of your materials. It's the same language that we've used previously. It does need to be, because we're approving an ordinance on the same night it's being introduced, unanimously approved. So if it's not, then we'll have to cross that bridge then. So if we can have a motion to approve the ordinance as drafted to pay a portion of the Recorder's Office expenses out of the perpetuation fund, that'd be great.
So I think you guys all, I mean, is there any questions and understanding? This has been ongoing? No. For a couple years, in which by statute we get, I mean, they've got to do this to use some of the money to pay for their expenses.
That's correct.
So it's ordinance number 22-6-12. It's the same as last year.
I'll make a motion to approve.
There's a motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion. We get a roll call on,
With a bang, you can vote no right here.
on ordinance number 22-6-12. We only hurt the general fund. Yeah, so, we get a roll call on that?
Councilmember Sims?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
And Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
6-0.
That's why you're above the fray, you're a gentleman and a scholar. You know Andy's in here, you're trying to get you in trouble. So with that then, Attorney Harper, then we'll have to make a motion to suspend the rules. That way we can pass it on second reading.
We do not need to do that. As long as it's a unanimous vote, we do not need to move to suspend the rules. I know we've done that previously,
Yeah.
but statutorily it's unnecessary. As long as we have a unanimous vote on the ordinance, we're fine.
So we're good right there?
Yep.
It's good to go? All right, perfect. We can move on. Get into it then. We've got 2023 Porter County Salary Ordinance. Auditor, Madam Urbanik, please. This is just finishing off our budget session that we have to pass the salary ordinance.
So after the budget employees concluded. Our office worked very diligently on incorporating all of your decisions in the salary ordinance. If you compare the ordinance to last year's, you'll notice that we now have job classifications for every position, which we didn't have before because we didn't have the wage study. It incorporates the raises that were approved. It incorporates the stipends that were approved, but only by language reference, because this is the salary ordinance that addresses the actual salaries and wages of the individuals, not the one-time stipend. Included in the ordinance is I tried to make it as concise as possible, a summary list of some of the outstanding issues and questions that we had when we were developing the ordinance. In the past week, we've spoken with Council President Rivas and Vice President Justin to clarify some of these issues, but I just wanted to have to document what those issues were for all of you. One of the issues dealt with the stipends. As you know, it is to be coming out of the ARPA fund. You appropriated the monies both in a vote in October, but also in your budget for next year. And I'm pleased to say that the commissioners this morning approved the second reading of their plan. So that is finalized, and so the employees will be getting the stipend if they're eligible for it under the wage study.
And that, our discussion on that was to pay that out. My thought was is to do it the same as last year. Pay that out by a certain, I suggested by no later than the fourth pay, because I asked you, is January plus a new auditor, and you said January is a busy time anyways. So at least maybe that we say that it's paid out by the fourth pay period of the new year, and that way it's not incorporated. My thought process was the same as last year. It's not incorporated into the biweekly pay that would artificially inflate their wages, that they know the difference. Get your stipend and your wages are what your wages are according to the wage. That was my thought process on that. So unless anybody sees anything different, okay?
No, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So I would say that, when we make the motion later, that, it's just, what do you need added just by the fourth pay period?
Okay, we'll add that language, yes. And then earlier today, you approved the hourly rate for IT. We will add that to the final version.
Okay.
Please note also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Please note, during budget time, we didn't address the coroner deputy pay, but then after budget time, WIS, the consultants, did classify the deputy coroners. So those changes for the deputy coroners are incorporated in that salary ordinance. But, and I'm looking at Cindy, because at some point, you may have to address an appropriation for their budget if there's not going to be enough, to transfer or to cover those increases.
And that was really an oversight that they weren't included as part of the wage study initially.
I think so.
And since that transpired, we did reach out to Wagner, Irwin, Shealy to develop job descriptions for both those positions, and then also give us the salary range for those positions, which was established in the same way that all the other positions were analyzed and reviewed and that sort of thing. So we've used that as our guide in an effort to see that the chief deputy and the deputies are also set to receive an increase for next year.
What's that increase? What's the numbers?
The new numbers are in the salary ordinance.
This 10,109 number?
Yes,
What
yes.
was it before?
I'd have to look at the prior.
It was 9,418 for the deputy coroners and 10,396 for the chief deputy.
I don't know what I meant on that.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did, thank you, and that did answer my question. So those aren't huge increases. What's this one question where it says, do we cap the total compensation or give 4,000? Or cap the Yeah, 20%, that's already handled, that's,
Okay.
this paper's
By
different.
taking them halfway to midpoint, by treating them the same way that all the other employees were treated, we have calculated that they're also eligible for a stipend. So then the question became, or supplemental pay, whatever we're calling. So the question became, does the 20% cap also apply? And you all set the 20% cap for, in other words, you can get a,
Are these full-time positions?
No.
no.
Oh, I didn't know we did increases for part-time positions with a stipend.
Yeah,
I didn't know that passed.
for,
It didn't pass, did it?
And, right, that's why this is one of those issues
Okay.
that's coming up.
there's another, the closest parallel to the deputies in the coroner's office. The closest parallel position we have is in the prosecutors, or, excuse me, the public defenders, who are also part-time salaried employees, which is essentially what the coroner's office employees are, they're part-time salary. And as they also were considered under the wage study and will receive an increase in 2023, it'd be my opinion anyway, that the coroner's office should be handled in the same way.
Are we handling all part-time positions like that? Or only part-time positions that are
Those are
salaried?
the only part-time salaried employees.
Those are, okay. I just want to make sure that we're not, I don't have a problem with it, thank you.
Vicki, how much, we gave an increase of call-out pay. Do you remember what that was? Remember when they go on?
Yeah.
It's doubled it,
Is
right?
it 50? Is it 50?
$50?
It was $12.50 per phone call, $25 per call out, and they increased that to $50 per call.
So with this 10,000, they would get another 3,000 approximately stipend? Is that what the
It
thought is?
varies between the chief and then the deputy coroners.
Well, just talking about the deputies, because it's easy what I know. Is that about right? They get like $1,000 raise and then a $3,000 stipend
Right.
for the deputy coroners?
Because their pay is so low, they're hitting that 20% cap. I don't have those stipend amounts right in front of me. I don't know.
Well, the amount of the increase in sales for the deputy coroners is about $600, $600 to $700, so.
Everything else would be a stipend, if we decide to do so.
Do that with part-time employee.
I'm still stuck on those. They get paid part-time for that, why are we paying them extra for going call-outs? I don't know why, that kind of, we're giving them an increase of salary, plus we gave them an increase in call-out, that's
That's a good
questioning
point.
that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You're getting paid.
Right, you're getting paid to do the job, part of the call-out is part of the job.
Why don't we ask the gentleman that's smiling at us? What are your,
So, when we originally asked for that call-out pay, when it originally came up, we had gone essentially to all of the relative counties to ours, and kind of looked what all the other coroner's offices were making, and we were still low on that end. So rather than asking for a wage increase at that time, we did that call-out pay. I don't mean to be graphic. The things we do and see are just not things that any people can do or see. Dealing with people on the worst times is, and I get that that's the job.
Right.
But it's a extremely thankless job that we really aren't. I don't mean to be brash. We're just really not compensated very well for it.
Well, let me ask you this question. And if we're talking about it was $25 for call out, now it's $50 for call out, how many call outs are there? How much money are we even talking about? Average.
That's a number that I can't foresee what we're going to do. I can average it out.
Well, I'm just saying for a particular employee.
yeah, what's the average? A year?
Top of the head, I wouldn't want to speculate a number without literally.
I mean, if it's 10, that's $250.
But it's far more than, I mean, I had 7 last week, and I had 5 call-outs in a week.
On your, as you were covered.
Me, period, correct. So, it's so impossible to predict, obviously. Around this time of year, unfortunately, is we have a huge uptick in our calls in general around holiday seasons.
Can you guys see that? Can't you see what we're paying out for callouts? The roundabout?
If you take into account, let me pull their budget over right now.
Why is there an uptick?
That is literally, that's the universe. It around.
I mean, it's not that many suicides, so like people just die more in the wintertime, is that what you're saying?
To be as easy as it is to explain, literally, it seems that there are more suicides in general, but.
We're still down from where we were last year, though, so it's not that many more.
But in this area, I mean, in this time frame, for the year we might be down. But like for this time frame, we just have more incidents. It's like an unspoken thing, I should say, amongst coroner's offices. I don't know if it's people kind of give up trying, people that are sick, that kind of thing around this time of year. They make it to the holiday, give up. There's like I said, it's the universe. There's no way there's no actual.
We're talking about this county, though. We're down. We're down.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's talking about suicide, but I think he's
There's
talking about death in
accidents,
general.
There's suicides, there's overdoses,
In
all
general,
that.
around this time of year, we tend to get more calls.
Yeah, I'd rather not get hung up on the call-out portion of it. I mean, it went from $25 to $50.
It's $50 per call, but there's not an equal distribution amongst all
Sure.
the, some of them go out a lot, some of them go out very little. So.
Yeah, and that's partially why I'm saying that $25 is not all that material for the individual deputy coroners.
We get $50 for a scene call, or we have to remove a body from that home. We get $12.
They get paid too, though.
For
Get money too.
a text
Salary.
phone release, where we do everything from home. We take care of everything. It's probably a natural death. They've got medical information that we can go on. These part-time salary deputies have to be certified by the state. They have to keep up CE hours in order to keep their certification. We have to follow an Indiana code of laws that are about 16 pages. I can get that for you if you want. That is applied to our department, and we have to follow that for death investigations. Our homicides are automatic scene calls, suicides, automatic scene calls, death overdose cases are automatic scene calls, infant deaths are automatic scene calls. Motor vehicle accidents are automatic scene calls. If someone falls, hits their head, automatic scene calls. There's so much that we have to abide by for these laws. We have to apply them to our department.
Are they in the job descriptions? Have you seen the job? Okay, so then that's part of the salary.
So one thing to understand though too, like for a scene call, for instance, I will be on call from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I might get called out to a homicide at 10 p.m., then I won't clear from that call until 3 p.m. the next day. Like I might be at that scene for 8 hours. Sometimes waiting for warrants, completing steps of the investigation, because it's got to be done, obviously, in cahoots with law enforcement. So like the scene calls are really what extend us past, not to mention then follow up on my own time, following up, calling doctors, calling physicians, calling people to get death certificates signed, to get information about the patient that died or the person that died. Like, we have a lot of our own time that we follow up in that's not on our payroll time. That is literally just.
But that's in a job description though, yes? Then it is. I mean, I guess my question is, it's a part-time gig.
Excuse me, with all due respect, it is not a part-time gig. It's not a gig.
Well, that's how we're listed. I mean, it's on our books, it's a part-time.
It is,
So-
but look at what they have to, have in order to work this job.
But they know that going into that job. They accept that.
Right.
That's all I'm
But they
saying.
have to be certified.
And we're giving them a raise for that.
They haven't gotten a raise since 2019,
If we approve this, they will.
and they deserve it.
All I'm saying is the call-out pay, we increased the call-out pay, so if we're gonna increase this, it's like, I don't know, I'm against the call-out. I don't think it's necessary, because they're getting paid to do a job, they understand that job, they accept that role, and here it is, otherwise they just say, I don't wanna work there anymore. And you've got 9 versus before you had 6, right? So you got more people now doing the work of what 6 used to
The
do.
county is growing, and there's more deaths reported to the coroner's.
How many more deaths on average do we have now than we did before when we had 6? You don't have those numbers.
I can get those numbers for you.
That would be helpful.
Councilmember Sims, the one thing I do want to bring up, and I remember when we went from the 25 to 50, the thing we had discussed was the gas that they were using. For example, if this gentleman lives in the North County and he's on call and he's got to go all the way to South County, that was at the time, from what I remember, was why we were talking about the increase, was to cover some of those gas costs. So maybe I'm wrong and I misremembered that, but that's kind of what I thought that was for at the time.
That is an expensive margin, correct?
All right, so to kind of wrap this up, they weren't included, but I think to Mike's point, and why I agreed with Mike, was they are on our salary ordinance, as salaried part-time, just the same as the public defenders. So while I balked right away, he was right with the public defenders, so that's why I think they rightfully so, just to try to be consistent, they were included and should be included because they are salaried, part-time. So right now, the current is, for all the deputies, it's $9,418. Is that correct? And then what did Wagner come back with? The mid or halfway to mid is the 10,800, Mike? What's the proposal here?
The proposal is to take them halfway to midpoint.
Like everybody else.
Which is how the other employees think this is what it's.
So then, and to treat them, at the most comparable, it was if we went to halfway to midpoint, we also used our minimum of $4,000, but, this is where the genius of the wage committee came in with a maximum of 20%, which, because comparatively, a $4,000 total stipend, when it is only at $10,000, the 20% comes in, so it lowers that considerably. So if we treat them equally as the public defenders, I mean, what are we talking here? What would be the midpoint, moving them up? Sorry, I was just talking, yeah. Talking out loud.
I was listening.
She's always listening, that's why she's good. She'll take care of it.
No, the proposal was to take them halfway to midpoint.
Okay, which,
So what you see in the salary ordinance, like we incorporated that in there already.
This 10,109,
Yes,
so that's halfway to midpoint?
correct.
okay, 10,000, so that's halfway to midpoint, and this is coming from the company, the wage study, as they included them because they were, for some reason, forgot. But then if we follow the committee to also not let anybody in this county get paid under $4,000, but
Correct.
max them at 20%, then there's that difference using the 20% max. So they get the raise to go, according to the wage study, to the 10,109 for all the deputies, and I think there's an increase the same with the coroner and the secretary and the chief deputy. Everything follows. And then what is the difference in the stipend then? Do you have that, Madam Auditor? Is that what the $1,193 is with the 20% cap, Mike?
Yes, 1193.
So that would be capping them at 20% and
Correct.
treating them equally as the public defenders that are in the salary ordinance. So,
That seems to make the most sense to me personally.
yeah.
You take care of them, you're still giving them an increase, you're still giving them a stipend, you're capping it out, just like you said you would, and we're keeping it fair. And we're only doing this for 2 part-time salaried employee departments, and we're taking care of them all equally. I don't have a problem with it.
So with that discussion, and we can, at the end, we're gonna vote on the salary ordinance, collectively, but I think the debate's out there, Greg. I think your point is heard and well taken, and however this shakes out, if next year, you wanna tackle that, that call out, we're never done discussing all of this stuff, right? That's what we do, so, I just wanna keep things moving. I think, if anybody wants to add anything at the end, that's in there, so that's in there right now, Madam Auditor, to follow the Wade study,
Yes.
Okay. Yes, no, I don't, you sure you want to?
No, I'm not sure. So the chief deputy, what would his pay be?
On the sheet, it's 12,409 would be increased to, plus the 20% stipend, which I don't know what that is.
We didn't see these numbers.
No, it says 12, I'm sorry.
12,400?
Yeah, I don't know what I said.
12,400.
I said 09.
And then whatever that difference would be of the 20%.
Is that what you guys are looking for? I know it's not exactly where you want to be, but
That is the answer to the question, correct? Thank you, sir.
that's what I'm looking for.
Thank you.
All right, so is there any further discussion on this? So, Madam Auditor, what else, do we need to, your budget questions? I know the sheet you guys got in front of you, it's the post-budget questions that you have in front of you. We're going through this, the coroner's deputies, the timing of supplemental pay. There was some jail questions, for the most part, I just want to follow what we did for the most part, and if there's something, a mistake, you guys, we talked about at the end of the budget session, was this wasn't perfect, but this was the first step in a direction that, next year, if things get left or there's other things to follow up, it wasn't going to be perfect, but it was a huge step.
So do you need a motion on that one for?
No, I would say we vote on the ordinance, in its entirety here.
Do you want to tackle tourism next?
Shortly. Well, is there any other, you guys see, the clerk has been sending me, nasty, mean texts, once a week. She's not happy, the jail, there's other things. So, you're still here, Jessica? Hopefully not. So, oh, crap. So, and there's things we can, surely have discussions next year, but these are some things that she just pointed out. Can we clean it, or any of them addressed? But yeah, tourism was one also. And I knew, you guys, I knew that when we finished up, they weren't really clarified. So I don't, Mike, you want to touch on that? I don't know, Lorelai's still here.
Lorelai's.
What, you're in tourism, Bob?
But I have a question.
Are you serious?
I am.
Are you sure?
At the end of the budget, yeah, I'm sure. At the end of the budget, you said, we'll check this and we'll look at the ordinance and we'll check the budget forms. We never got a chance to see the ordinance, so we don't know what's on there, what's right, what's.
You mean pay? You didn't get to see the pay ordinance?
Take it over your new president next year.
What we did after budget hearings is that we posted on the county's drive the increases, position to position. It was not presented in the salary ordinance format. It was this. So every department would have seen what their individual employees were going to be receiving. It's not presented in the same format as the salary ordinance because I think as it's being made clear, we are still changing this document as we speak right now, and we have not had the chance.
So have you seen what she's referring to, Bob?
We posted this for all departments, and I sent out an email talking about it, and if you can't access the J Drive, come to our office and we could print it out for you.
We haven't even got to the real stuff yet. You guys are leaving.
I don't know.
And all
So,
of
Bob, are
these-
you saying that because you might have complaints? Or
At the
still?
end of the budget, when we went through everything.
Yeah.
There were some requests, there was a number of requests and everything like that. You said everything that the stormwater and the development wanted to go to this corner.
Yeah, and
You did that. And then I asked Jeremy about that. You did everything, and he says, check later. And it's like, that's all I wanted.
Well, those changes that we talked about specifically for the structure of your department should be reflected
Correct.
in the wage
And
ordinance.
keep in mind, you approved these budgets. So you approved an appropriation for salary and hourly. Well, we're talking about salaries right now. So
All I wanted was a set line, that's all.
the appropriations that you were approved are reflected in the salary ordinance. And then we did, in fact, have this breakdown by all departments. And this has been available.
I would say this, Bob, I think, in our conversations up here, and one thing that the auditor's always been really good about is when we come back and begin to clean up, because budget session gets to be a lot. And when we finish up, it gets to be a lot, and when they try to package this up for us, they really try to follow the intent of the council. If we miss something that we didn't mean to, after we get through this, 6 of 7 of us are not going anywhere. If the intent was to do something, this council will correct it. What was the intent during budget session? I think we've honored that.
I get that. I just,
Go to her office tomorrow and you can
Yeah.
get a copy.
I will do that.
Yeah.
I will look at the changes. I just, like I said this morning to Tricia.
Mike's gonna get this.
Thank you, and I realize I'm a pain in your butt, but thank you.
There you go.
So if there's something we missed,
And we'll be posting the salary ordinance online too.
so is there anything else? So tourism, Bob, you might have a few minutes to work your way through if we missed something. Lorelei, tourism, Mike. So you want to discuss this, Mike? I know you had conversation. And I know they had some proposals and they kind of got glazed over right at the end there as we were trying to close it off. And they've,
How are you? Okay, so in speaking with representatives from tourism, as we looked at the salary ordinance and the effect that it had on their particular department and positions, they wanted to revisit what the proposals would be. They, like many departments, did an internal analysis of the positions and what their suggestions were. Of course, our reference is to the pay study that we had done, and albeit less than perfect, I'd like to remind everybody the significance of the wage study, and for a couple of issues that we had to address and a couple of issues that might still remain, we have made, I think, historical progress when it comes to employee salaries in terms of how job descriptions are designed and how pay is established based on those job descriptions, and have a strong path forward, to make sure that we are not only creating parity among the different departments, which was dramatically out of whack, but also making sure that as our pay in similar positions are fair as compared to other municipalities. And that was the whole goal of this wage study, and reminding everybody that as we endeavor down this path, it wasn't going to be easy, and that's exactly why the county hadn't addressed it ever, or in a long, long time. And so the expectation going into it wasn't that everybody would be jumping for joy. My hope is that the vast majority of employees throughout the county they understand what we've done, and perhaps we need to do an even better job of communicating of what that means for them individually. But there has been tremendous progress in a wide variety of departments in terms of where their pay is going to be for 2023 as compared to what it's been in the past. And on the issue of fairness, in terms of, making sure that not one department got more favored to another, or the squeaky wheel didn't necessarily get the grease, which has been done in the past, or as a county where typically we handle wages at the end of budget session and realize how much additional funds we have, and then we sprinkle it out to those that are fortunate enough to receive it. So the success that we've had with this wage study, can't be, in my mind, understated, because it is a huge step forward, not yet forever finalized, because it's something that we will talk about in 2023. If we do it right, we'll readdress it and do another analysis 3 or 4 years from now, because we want to make sure that we stay current. And hopefully everyone can appreciate too that as you look at job descriptions and as you compare your job descriptions to other people within your own department or within the county, or take it out further to other municipalities, it's a very, very difficult task, because everybody's jobs are a little bit different. So there's no magical answer to what we've done, but we have taken a very data-driven approach to this wage study. And as we work through some of these miscellaneous issues that still remain, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that that the step we're taking as it relates to pay for our employees, which is without, our employees are the most important asset we have in the county, and the most important thing to them is their pay, and understandably slow. So it hasn't been an easy task, but something that I think is going to provide great dividends for the county, far into the future. So, with that said, as we look at tourism, and as we look at the pay, the current pay that they have now, and where they ultimately would like to see themselves, they have a vision. And then as we apply that to the county wage study analysis that was done, as we applied to all the other departments throughout the county, we have, of course, halfway to midpoint, and we have a midpoint, and our focus has been this year is to work everybody halfway to midpoint, with two exceptions, and that is with related to public safety. That was in the Sheriff's Department, and also E911. And correct me if I misstate.
Also stormwater
And stormwater.
had an exception.
Okay. And so there are exceptions to that halfway to midpoint, and that's based on pay variances and need throughout different departments. So tourism has a need based on where their pay currently is and where they would ultimately like to see it. The sheet that you have in front of you shows what their current pay is for the 5 director positions that are currently in place. And then you have a column next to it that speaks to what it would look like if they go halfway to midpoint. And then the furthest column shows what the salaries for those positions would be if we went to midpoint, like we did with those other departments that have been mentioned. So my recommendation is, and certainly worthy of discussion, is to take the executive director, assistant director, operations director, communications director, and production director to the midpoint of the salary study offering. So that's my 2 cents. One thing I'd like to mention, one thing that sets tourism apart from many other departments is the fact that this is not something that would come out of the general fund. This is something that it would come out from their funds, and they have assured us, or are assuring us, that they can afford these raises, and it will come out of their funding. And that's certainly different than increases that would come out of the general fund, in my view.
Just a bookkeeping question, Mike. Why there's 4 listed here, and there's no halfway to midpoint on this one? Why on the last
For the production director?
Yeah, I just have not, I didn't see that in the wage study. I didn't look back to what it was.
I was just wondering, okay.
But the parity, as you can see, part of the process or part of the purpose behind the study is to try to get parity within departments. And so that's why you see the bottom 4 positions are all set to receive the same, or would be set to receive the same salary based on their job classification.
Okay.
Well, like the ops director, communication director, do similar duties, so the salary being the same, that's equal? I mean,
No, actually, the operations director has a staff under them, so we would actually have them hire the senior operations director, because they actually have a whole entire staff under them. So the other 2 do not have the actual staff. So I would actually have operations director is actually, in the current budget, is higher than the other 2.
And that would be something that could be reviewed next year as we continue to review these wages, job classifications, But as part of our salary study, the midpoint for that particular position is 57,761.
Okay.
Well, personally, I like the halfway to midpoint. I think that's more consistent of what we've done. And I understand they're on their own budget, but I mean, that's $11,360 raise for the executive director, for example. It's a pretty big increase. So I'm not saying it's not deserved, but the job market is also changing. You know, there are companies doing layoffs now, and there's going to be people looking for jobs. So whatever you guys decide.
We had exceptions, though, where there were some people that did get some exceptional raises.
Well, and
I don't have a problem with this. I was on the tourism board at several years ago, and I do understand what they do out there, and it's a tremendous boost to our county to see the job that they do to present our county to people traveling through and so forth. It's they really do a great job. I don't have a problem with this midpoint.
And Andy, just to answer your question, our staff can easily still into the private sector, and the wake-up call to us was one of our staff is going to be taken just like that for my salary. So they're going to do they're going to do less in the private sector than what they're doing for us, and they're going to be making my salary. And, you know, us to lose these valuable employees, and then so we have to then replace them, and the cost to replace them, and then to try to go out in the competitive market and try to get those into, you know, into our facility. So we're trying to do everything we can to keep our employees, and we have a very talented.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and plus they're taking, you know, please understand that we're taking on additional work because we're now a national park. There's a lot that the national park cannot do, and it is our staff that's doing that heavy lift. You know, for example, they did.
Have them kicking for the raises then.
Yeah, well, that's fine. If you want to go talk to Paul Elements, that would be great. But I mean, that's some of the reality that we're dealing with is that what our folks do can be easily stolen into the private sector.
Thank you for explaining.
And you're saying, Mr. President, you don't want to vote on these separately?
Oh, we can, if you guys really feel the need.
I think we are just asking what we need to do to move this
So,
along.
yeah.
But that is going to put your ops, comm, and production director all at the same pay is what they're just made a motion, or looking to do, just so you
Right,
know.
and I agree with Mike. We can deal with.
So for a year, they'd be the same, and then the following year, you change.
So,
So that's a particular issue related to the tourism. The other issue that has been presented by tourism is the prospect of adding an additional director. As I understand it, Lorelei, we're talking about eliminating part-time hours and pay and creating a director's position.
Yeah, so we were hoping to get a part-time person, but in reality, we need a full-time person. So one of the things that we are tasked with is, first of all, we need a $3 million renovation to the visitor center. So we're hoping to get ARP money, but we didn't. But in addition to that, we have got to find a revenue source to continue to upgrade our visitor center. So we are going to take over the retail operation in the visitor center. It's going to start in January of '24. We have to have a person who is going to help us start coming up with revenue sources. So we want a full-time person that would be our revenue and facilities director. So we need a person to help us. So we're going to run the bike business. We're going to continue to improve that. We're going to take over the retail operations. That's not going to be.
Who does that now?
Eastern National. It's a not-for-profit. So we are going to vacate them. So they're going to have to find a new location. But we need those revenues to put back into the visitor center. So we're going to have a person who can oversee that staff. We can't just waltz in January of 2024 and be ready to take over this huge retail operation.
Can they be vacated sooner?
What's that?
Can they be vacated sooner?
They can. We put the deadline on January 24th because we don't have a person. We have to get a person in place. So.
But if we do this, does that expedite their vacation?
We still have a lease agreement, so we still have other things that we have to negotiate, Mike, but it allows us to do that, it allows us to do the bike business. There's other revenue ideas that we want to do that this person would do. In addition to that, we have an aging building, so my operations director currently, she's probably doing the job of 3 people. And so we have got to give her some relief in terms of what she's doing. So revenue and facilities management, so we've got to look for revenues for the $3 million renovation, so this new person would help us try to figure out how we're gonna do that and so forth. So there's a lot on our, we're excited, we're doing a lot of great things, but we do a lot with a small staff, and we're just to a point where we're at a breaking point, especially on that operations side.
Do you have a job description?
I do.
So this has taken part of the load off the ops director.
Yeah, just because there's just no way, when we had our positions evaluated, they're saying that she's doing the work of 3 people, and we just can't continue to grow with revenues and
Finding a person that will do the work of 3 people is a real find.
well, and then trying to keep them,
Right.
you know, keep them excited.
So this is the last item, while you guys look at that, if you're glancing at it real fast. This is the last item on the cleanup list. I would, again, I could recommend it again in January, but I won't have the gavel, but I would say that it was on the committee. What? The wage committee. Mike, was it?
The ARPA?
Greg? I would suggest the Mikes and Greg maybe get together in January, February, and kind of revisit if there's any serious outlying issues. You know, I don't know, Bob, you know, may have a few questions, but, you know, to where we just didn't take the first step and then ignore it until October, you know, that we dive back in, you know, after the new year when people settle in, and maybe that committee, you know, reconvenes to look at anything that was missed, possibly missed our intent this budget session, and if there's any kind of cleanup, you know, moving into the next budget session. So that would be my recommendation, but.
You're just saying to remain active.
Yes, as a committee, yes, correct.
Mitch is here.
For sure. So, but is there anything else, Madam Auditor, you want to bring up? I mean, if we.
Another item on the tourism, it's my understanding you wanted to change that rate, the hourly rate?
Yeah, we had proposed going up to 23.
Okay, and then to eliminate those descriptions. We don't
Yes,
need the
yeah,
part-time
exactly.
descriptions in there. Okay. So that would be another request from them, that they just wanted to change the part-time rate to up to 23.
Right. They pay for.
Yes, yes. So that would be part of this, too.
All right. So do you have everything we've talked about updated in that? I mean, do you understand what we're saying?
Yes,
Everything so far?
The salary ordinance that we prepared for you,
Plus
that
what we've
was
talked
changed
about.
literally just a few hours before the meeting, does not have these changes in there because you haven't voted on those. So we would substitute those pages, basically.
Okay. Is there anything else, if there's a motion made with everything we've discussed to make those changes, are we missing anything?
The only other item is that as part of the adoption of the salary ordinance, you would also incorporate the job descriptions that back all of these changes.
Right, the purpose of.
Because the whole wage study was based on these job descriptions that all of the
Categorize
departments.
them, yes.
Yes.
All right, well, I mean, if there's further discussion, and by all means, have it, but, you know, I think now would be a good time maybe to make a motion, put it on the floor, and whatever that motion is, what's been discussed, if it includes, you know, what was discussed with, how we're gonna pay out the stipend, the coroners, and tourism. We've had those discussions, did I miss anything? So,
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2023 salary ordinance as presented with the adjustments that have been discussed tonight.
Second that motion.
so there's a motion and a second with the salary ordinance as presented. We include the 911, and not, that we include the coroners in it, you know, as part-time salary, the tourism.
Can we talk about, so we're going with the quarter to the midpoint, and then with the stipend max 20%?
20%.
Okay, thank you.
Is that Mike, and then, yes?
Halfway to the midpoint.
Halfway to midpoint, thank you.
With the 20%
With the max
cap. Tourism, to the midpoint. Mike, was that your?
Yeah, that's correct.
Tourism to the midpoint with the additional, the stipends be paid out by the 4th
And the
payroll.
part-time changes, correct, on the tourism too, the part-time pay?
Yeah.
Was that part of the
Part-time
motion?
pay, yes,
$23.
Yeah.
$23.
Oh, 23?
So is that state your motion correct, Mike?
Yes.
Was there a second?
So good.
Discussion, further discussion? If there's no further discussion, Madam Auditor, do you understand the motion in the second?
Yes, I do.
Can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas,
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
And Councilmember Sims.
No.
So it's 5-1.
Right. Are we good there? So, Madam Auditor, we're good there?
Yes. So what we'll do is we'll revise the sheet and
I don't
then
think
send it out to you.
We didn't make a motion to add the position, did we?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Was that part of your motion? Okay, I think it was. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned, yep.
I voted yes on that.
So, all right, so you got that, Madam Auditor, so we got the salary ordinance.
Right.
Now we're gonna get into, you've got.
So,
Yes.
pardon me, Mr. President. So as far as informing the departments, and I know they had access to it, but they'll get the
Yes.
salary ordinance, and then all the departments can absorb it, and of course share that information with their employees, and
For the most part, it is the same information that
Right.
we've had available after the budget sessions. But it's not presented in the same manner. This information just showed the increases, you know, the 11% increases, the 20%, the 35%. It showed how each position was, how much they were getting either in raise or stipend. The salary ordinance puts the same titles there, but we added a column where we put the job classification in, and then we showed the breakdown by the different funds, if there are multiple funds that they get paid out of. The salary ordinance does not show the stipends, though, because this is just the actual, you know, pay, if you
so
will.
it's the salary ordinance plus the document that you're
Right.
referring to.
So you almost need to see both.
Right.
Well, actually, the first document is almost, in a sense, more important, but the ordinance is a statutory requirement that we list all of the positions, and we started breaking it down by fund because we found that there was some confusion among council members when you would just look at the general fund and you would think that that's their salary, when in fact, these people were actually getting paid from multiple funds. And it led to some disparities in pay, quite frankly.
And then it would be incumbent upon the department head / supervisor / leaders to very specifically sit down on a one-on-one basis, it'd be my suggestion with employees, to make sure they know this is where you've been, and this is where you're going, your salary's gonna change, this is what your stipend's gonna be, and I don't know if we provide, I mean intuitively that makes sense, but I don't know if, do we provide instructions or direction, or is that just a given that they will share that so that they're not waiting for their first check in January to understand what happened to their pay?
Well, we post all of this on what we call the J Drive, and everyone who has a computer has access to it for the most part. Now, there are some departments that don't have access to the J Drive based on where they're located. I think tourism, you're one of them. But we always share the information with those departments.
We don't get the J Drive either, so don't feel left out.
So, and we will be posting this online once we get this updated.
Perfect.
And keep in mind, all of these salaries have to be backed by a budget, and you approved the budgets already.
All right, Madam Auditor, outgoing report update, so.
And so this is a good segue. I'm very pleased to announce that just a few days ago, we received our, what we call the preliminary budget order from the DLGF, and every single one of the state-reviewed funds that are what we call the major funds, property tax support funds, have been approved, no cuts. Our levy analysis was right on.
No cuts?
No cuts. So the budgets are approved, and.
She's saying nice work,
that's-
council.
That is a good news.
Line is drawn. This is the best shape we've ever
A few years
been
ago,
in.
we used to have to come back and tell, like CCD, you have to cut the budget somewhere.
I remember that.
In some cases, there were cuts to highway department, but now all budgets have been approved. Actually, it's not final until we get the budget order, but this is part of the state's process. And so I just turned in my response that said I don't want any changes. So we're good, and we met the levy limitations, which is very important. There's a few other issues that I have before you. State law allows in-series budget transfers to be approved without having to come before the county council. I have not sought that as a policy decision in all my years of being auditor. I think your responsibility is to review all of the budget requests, and I also think your responsibility is to keep department heads accountable for their budgets. And so all budgets and the transfers have come before you. However, I am asking you to approve a resolution that should be before you, and I would like it to be signed, just so that if there are any line items that do end up in the negative at the end of the year, you would give me the authorization to transfer from other like series to just clean up those appropriations. It doesn't add funding at all, it just moves the money around so that we don't have line items ending in the negative. We can't allow funds to go in the negative, but we don't want budget line items to be in the negative, just in case there are any, and we really won't know until near the end of the year. It's good.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate, you leaving it up to this council for its oversight, and I understand, when you said that, this will allow you to try to clean your books up as an auditor, an outgoing auditor, best that you can, to leave clean books for the incoming auditor at the best, which...
And what we'll do is we'll write a report for you to show you where we had to do these transfers. Like I said, in the old days, it was sort of a given that that's what the auditor's office did. It was called the budget shakedown, right? And I didn't like that. I didn't think it was appropriate, because when you go back into the prior year and you see, let's say the auditor ended the year at the negative in office supplies, for example. I didn't, but let's just pretend. And then we just magically transferred it from something else. So it doesn't really look, you would have to go deeper into that information to see it. But we will write up a report for that.
This shows it serves no purpose to, then allows, like you said, the different departments to just spend without understanding their line items. If they can just spend into the red and all of a sudden it's magically corrected for them, then there's no accountability. And so I agree with.
And I would really urge you to keep that policy as your policy and not allow the auditor to go in and make these changes.
Nope, I agree.
Unless it's allowed by state statute, and there are some funds where we can do that, but let's not get into that.
So you guys got this, are you done with that then? We got a resolution here that, in front of you, that Porter County Council, resolution authorizing the Porter County Auditor to make year-end inter-series budget transfers.
Make a motion to approve.
There's a motion, a second to approve this resolution. This is the one time in her 8 years that we're gonna get her permission to clean the books up at the end of the year, so we don't have to come back, and this allows her to clean her books up as she's outgoing. So is there any discussion? Harold, you see any problem with this?
I do not have that resolution. I just wanted to take a look at that.
Joy has a copy with her.
So,
wait, before I sign it.
Refers back to us.
What's that?
Reverts back to us after the first of the year.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll take if you sign it.
And I don't anticipate that there will be any. If you had another meeting this year, then it would come back to you for the budget transfers, but you're not having another meeting, so.
Okay. Harold says thumbs up. This gives her the temporary power to balance the books at the end of the year without having to come up in front of us for those transfers. And you can see most of the departments were trying to do their best today to try to clean up
Absolutely.
as much as they were doing. And that's why the end of the year is always crazy with transfers, as it should be, not additionals. Jessica, so there's a motion,
Go ahead.
motion a second on the floor. Did she leave?
Yeah, she's
Busting her
on.
chops and she left. So, motion a second on the floor to pass the year-end inter-series budget transfers one time for the auditor for the remainder of this year. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay. And I will say on the additionals, you might remember that I have made comments that I don't like additionals so late in the year, but we did get the approval for the budgets, including the general fund, and we kind of projected pretty well. We gave ourselves a little bit of flexibility, so the additionals that you did approve tonight in the general fund causes no problems.
You always do. You always trick us, you're always over-conservative.
I was concerned. I do have a few additional items. There is a state law that requires county auditors to return to the county general fund a portion of the proceeds from the ineligible homestead taxes. Now, in the last few years, we have not met that threshold just because we've had things like COVID. And we had one of our deputies who oversaw that homestead compliance program resigned right before COVID, so we didn't get a chance to really fill that position. But we have been restructuring our homestead program, and I'm very pleased to report that at the end of this year, I will be turning over money to the general fund from the auditor and eligible homestead. I cannot give you an exact amount right now, but we have really restructured our ineligible homestead program. We've been collecting more and more of the delinquent back tax, not delinquent, but the back taxes, and so part of that will be going back to the general fund.
Thank
Are those people trying to scam the system? Is that what you're catching? Like they have two homes and they're
Yeah, it would be like Herschel Walker living in Texas and trying to get a homestead, you know.
Come on.
Yes.
They're senator.
And
Yes. And part of the reason why we haven't met the threshold in previous years is also because we really tried to clean up the caseload, and some of these cases are very complex. We have gone to PETA BOA on some of them. We've actually gone to the state on some of these. So we were dealing with more difficult cases that slowed the process down. Now we have it back. We did a deep dive into the data, and we are going back and collecting it. I do just want to say, many people, I don't think they're actually intentionally committing fraud. I think it's a matter that they just don't know.
Oh, okay.
Many people, believe it or not, don't look at their property tax bills. It's one of my favorite pastimes, but, you know.
Very thorough.
So I will let all of you know what that return will be. I have a few other things. Our health insurance fund, as you know, has been a problem fund. Exactly a month ago, we had a cash balance in our health insurance fund of about $668,000. Claims keep coming in, people keep using our health insurance program. We currently have a balance of only $13,000 in the health insurance fund. Fortunately, thanks to the American Rescue Plan Act, we were able to utilize about $240,000 of that fund. We were able to put it into that fund about a week or so ago. That allowed us to pay claims. We were not going to be able to pay the claims. You might remember the previous meeting where I talked about several times this year that this is getting into a dangerous situation, and that's why I asked for the increase in the ARPA funds. Just today, the commissioners did give that second reading approval to that section that we were setting aside for county uses, that up to 10 million section. So tomorrow, we are not delaying this. We are moving that 1.6 million into the health insurance fund. So now it ends up kind of nicely. Our health insurance fund, Fund 4700, now is going to be stabilized. It's going to be able, as long as it continues to be well-managed and tracked and watched, and this is something we are going to emphasize as we move into our transition. We have to really, really watch this fund because we do not want it to go down. I would urge you next year, especially if you can't wait until budget hearing, please try to look for increasing appropriations. The commissioners are doing what they can to cut the costs, but we're having a problem on the revenue side. Fortunately, with a 1.6 million infusion, we are going to stabilize it, and I'm very, very pleased. This has been a fund that has been top priority for me ever since I stepped in here in 2015.
Thank
So
you.
Well, thankfully,
that's-
that passed today, then.
Yes, yeah, and if it didn't,
Bill's
We'd
gonna
be
be big.
really
setting up
want to
more
talk
meetings.
about it. Yes. Two last things. Next Monday, we are going to be running settlement, and that's one of our favorite tasks in the county auditor's office. After that, we will have a better idea of how all of the funds are going to end the year. I have very good confidence that our property tax supported funds, namely the general fund, will continue to be our greatest success story. We're going to end the year, I believe, with an operating margin that exceeds our target of 15%. But I do need to reiterate this to you. Please hold the line on additional appropriations. Please, if you see a balance of 9 million, 10 million, 11 million, please don't think that's free money that you could just give away. You budget on a 12-month cycle. The numbers that we deal with are really on an 18-plus cycle. So that operating margin, that cash balance, needs to get us to the next property tax draw. And the greater the cash balance we have mid-year, the more optimistic it is when you come to budget session. This past year, we knew what the levy was going to be. I thought we were going to have the smoothest budget session ever, but then a thing called the wage study came. That really, really caused our office to work double overtime.
You're
and we
saying
don't
you
get
earned your
overtime.
money.
Pardon me?
I was just kidding.
But by maintaining a strong, healthy cash balance, you're able to look forward and you're able to grow the budgets responsibly. So I know that there is a need for additional appropriations, and here I'm really focusing on those property tax supported funds. The other ones are self-supporting, and if they run out of money, you can't approve it. But if you draw it down too much, you know what's going to happen. We're going to go back to 2013, 14, when that cash balance just fell, and you will be in trouble. So I just want to leave you with that. Look at additional appropriations, especially with the general fund and the property tax funds, with a very high degree of scrutiny. Some will be necessary, obviously. But
Stay
I
strong.
just
So
want to be a
the-
mom and give that advice here.
We hear you. So the goal is 15%, and you're saying it's likely to be in excess. Have you you
My
got an
goal is
estimate on what
higher
it'll
than
be?
15. It all
15's the
depends
bare
on
minimum.
what we do with settlement. Settlement decides our property tax collections. I don't want to go, but I think we're going to be upwards of 10 million.
Good.
But don't hold me that. And part of it's going to be how much I turn over in the ineligible homestead fund.
3-4 million.
It's going to be around the 100,000 mark for that, but that's good. And that is miscellaneous revenue. It doesn't follow the auditor's office. It's for Cindy Dyke's coroner people. It's for the other things that you're going to have to deal with when you deal
Vicki,
with
just
it.
to build off real fast, and I'll let you keep going. What I started with the meeting off with, over the last 8 years, we've spent upwards of $75 to $80 million on facilities and infrastructure. The general fund is probably the healthiest it's ever been at the same time.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the line in the sand is drawn. What we've done over the last 8 years is incredible in this county.
Yes. It is, because the general fund was really in a crisis. And, you need the general fund. And the last thing that I'm going to leave you with is that.
Liberal spending.
Another big project that happened this year, and we all know, it was ARPA. It was a big, big project. But in the coming weeks, the work continues in our office. Today, the commissioners approved about 20 of these agreements. Our staff has been working incredibly hard these past few weeks, not just on the wage study and the salary ordinance, but also with ARPA putting together all of those agreements. So over the next few weeks, we are going to do all we can to accommodate the nonprofits that are turning in their paperwork. The county projects are going to happen when they happen, like the health insurance. We're going to see millions of dollars being distributed in the next few weeks out of the ARPA fund. And again, every single dollar has to be tracked, and we're doing that. We are, as part of our transition, my goal is to have the best audit file possible with ARPA, because this will be audited next year. And so we are developing the audit file. We're even going to nonprofits and saying, take before and after pictures and send it to us. We're doing site visits of the nonprofits. We're doing all of that to develop this very, very good quality audit file. I just want to say that the ARPA grant, the SLFRF grant, is our largest federal grant. Federal grants come under different type of an audit scrutiny, and I just really want to urge you to make sure that you do your part in watching over the tracking and the expenditures of those ARPA funds. The decisions have been made. There's still decisions that will have to be made going down the road, but it's crucial that we maintain a tight balance on how those funds are monitored and reported.
And I think that's something as a council we have to pay attention to, because her office has carried that thing from the start of it. And as we all know, the auditor has educated herself and become a professional on that, but we're losing her. So I think the council has to work with the commissioners, or if the commissioners aren't willing, we really need oversight. We're handing a lot of federal dollars out to organizations. We have to have oversight. We have to figure out a way to make sure that oversight happens, because I'm not going to sit up here when the federal government starts auditing us because we weren't having proper oversight on over $30 million of federal dollars. So I know I talked to Mike about this, Councilman Jessen, and they have an outside company that is basically checks and balances everything. Every dollar goes out. Not only are they approving it, but this outside entity is, also approving it. So it's a big task, and if we just turn our head on $30-some million being pushed out and thinking it's going to be okay, we're gonna find ourselves in trouble, because we allocated that money. Mm-hmm. So we need to make certain as we get into the new year that we talk to the commissioners and figure out what their plan is on oversight of that money.
Mm-hmm. And we have a great internal control system in our auditor's office. You can go on our website and you can see our internal control manual. And it's my goal that the 2022 audit, I hope no auditors are listening, really gets really wonderful reviews. We want to leave the records in tip-top shape for 2022. But going forward, I just urge you to keep an eye on it. And with that, I'm going to stop talking. That's the end of my audit report. Although you're going to get more reports from us. There's all this talk about farewell to me and everything. I made a commitment to the taxpayers. I'm working here through December 30th. I'm not coming here December 31st, although I might. December 31st is a Saturday. So really, seriously.
And she's telling the truth, right? I mean, up until midnight on probably New Year's Eve,
I may come here December 31st. I come here Saturdays sometimes. But there is a reason why I'm going to be here through December 30th. And so I'm not going anywhere. So if anyone has any questions, do contact me. I'm not going on vacation. I'm working through the end of the year. I may be gone for a day or two.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicki Urbanek, for everything.
Okay, with that, I am done. I kept Andy from his daughter's reception.
Thank you for everything.
All right, so we've got 2 more items as we finish the year off. 7:30, we're only 2 hours in, it's good. Citizens appointments, real fast. We have, Chesterton EDC asked for an appointment. They didn't think they needed it. We make some appointments. Where did I put it? They didn't think they needed this appointment. I think they've got some things going on. Now all of a sudden they want us to appoint somebody back on the EDC, Economic Development Commission. So we posted it, and I think Lloyd was the only one, and he was on it before, and we got a letter from Chesterton, I think, requesting that he be on it. Joy, did I get that right?
Yes.
So Lloyd has been on it before. He didn't re-up it. They didn't feel the need to, but they have some things going on right now, so. Why are there 2 names on here? Joy?
Nick was the old one.
Nick was the old one. Okay. He's not on there right now, correct?
No, he
It's
is not.
vacant. Okay,
Retired for
okay.
Yeah, so I make a motion to appoint Lloyd Kittredge to the Chesterton Economic Development Corporation Board.
Second it.
It's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So real quick then, it's posted on our door. Is it on the website too, Joy? That our appointments are the Porter County Redevelopment Commission, the ABC, the Alcohol Beverage Commission, Porter County Tax Assessment Board of Appeals, PETABOA, Chesterton EDC, Porter EDC, Valpo EDC. So anybody interested in being considered for those, drop off a resume at the office or visit, portercounty.org at the council, county council tab.
media as well?
Yes, it has.
So we've got these that anybody interested in it, and it's out there. So take care of that. Last but not least, Scott, you still here?
I am.
Scott McDonald wanted to give a end of the year report for the Memorial Opera House. I got to sit through this earlier,
Yeah.
and I learned a lot myself. It was pretty incredible.
Thank you.
The depth of the outreach of what you guys do.
Thank you.
Was kind of jaw-dropping. I know what you guys do is wonderful there, but I didn't really know the depth of the outreach into our community. So I'm gonna say, were you here when I went through like all the transfers and stuff, how I get going?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I burn out, as you can see at the end.
Yes. I'll do my
Take it
best
over.
to
Take it over,
speak
brother.
either
You
as
got
quickly
it.
as you or
You got it.
Madam Auditor here. I'll do what I can. So thank you for entertaining this evening, folks. And what I wanted to do was just kind of give a presentation and an overview of where we've been through 2022 and where we're headed going into 2023. There often seems to be a lot of mystery about like what the arts does, especially when it comes to being a government department. And this year was particularly challenging because we're still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. So I will just kind of go through this. Tony, are you my driver? Awesome. Tony's my driver. So on my first slide here, I just want to introduce our team and remind you of who they are. Of course, you have me, the executive director, Natalie Klobuchar, who's our administrative coordinator. She oversees events, rentals, things along those lines. Scott Miller, the other Scott M., known as Stretch.
Oh, he has a name?
He has a name. He has a real name. And he's our technical director. We are the three full-time employees. Bobby Sue Kovachkov, who is our artistic director. Ray Smedley, who is our box office manager and marketing assistant. Vicki Zimmerman, who's our production manager, and Christina Powles, who's our costume shop manager, are also part of what I call our core team. We're the group that really does oversee contractors. We oversee the productions, employees, making sure that things kind of keep moving and the wheels stay on the bus, as it were. And then we also have our event and specialty staff, and these folks are really unique to us because they are the folks that are kind of our part-time gig workers. Jonathan Owens, who's our director of education, is also one of the assistants of programming out at Boys and Girls Club. Jordan Romersberger, who is our education coordinator and sort of works hand in hand with Jonathan to make sure that discipline happens in the classroom setting, to make sure students are aware of what's going on, expectations. She works in several different places throughout the community as well. All of our bartenders work several different jobs, either as, one's a banker, one is a finance manager, and then another one works for Journeyman, and another works at Northview Elementary as a teacher's aide. And then Eric Thorstad, who is our partner with Opportunity Enterprises, he's worked for us for 13 years. And he started as a custodian, and we had a discussion earlier last month saying, we need to look at changing what his role is. And he's done a whole lot of outreach for us about some of our programs that I'll discuss later. So we kind of made him more of a patron ambassador. He's working a lot now through Theater for a New Audience as one of our greeters. Some other very exciting things that are coming up. And then Madison Marsh, who is our administrative assistant, she sort of reviews our contracts and everything, makes sure T's are crossed, I's are dotted, all of that. She also works for Lake County Special Victims Unit. So again, these are a very unique group of people for us because they are committed to us, but also have very, very intense
real-world jobs, I guess you could say. And then we have the Memorial Opera House Foundation, which helps us out as our nonprofit arm. And Cliff Bryan is our chair of that. Colleen Peluso is our vice chair. Melissa Osik is our treasurer. Lori Parpart is our secretary. Shannon Franco is our direct past chair. We have members at large, Marsha Arnold, Mike Kovachkov, Jeff Lewis, Linda Rodenbarger, Debbie Schaefer, and Christy Weiss. And then they have a consultant that helps out with all of our marketing work, and that's Andrew Brent. So the mission of Memorial Opera House, we sat down a few years ago in strategic planning and we really looked at our mission, and it was like 14 sentences long and there really wasn't a whole lot there. So this is what we've come up with, that at Memorial Opera House we use theater and the arts to build our community and create a sense of belonging. We want everybody to feel like they are part of what we do. And it matters to us because just like other recreational facilities, and next slide, please. Just like other recreational facilities that give the public places to go to relax their minds and bodies, the arts provide experiences that can only be captured on stage. For instance, when we flew Mary Poppins in 2020 or in 2015.
I was there, I saw it.
You were there, you saw it.
Was Witten flying too?
Witten wasn't in there.
Talk about him here anymore.
And in 2015, when we did Les Miserables and the barricade literally came out of nowhere, those are things that are really unique to our building and that you can only see on stage, and we get one crack at it. The arts provide a haven not only for the audience, but for our volunteers to grow as well. So everybody that comes through our doors, of course, is looking for something, whether that's community, whether that is looking for that place to belong or a place to experience just something beyond the everyday hustle and bustle and noise. Again, it's never lost on me or our staff why our building exists. It is a place of inclusion. It's a home away from home for many. And it's also a tribute to those who fought valiantly for freedoms many of us can easily take for granted, and sometimes we take statues for granted too. Hey, we were closed for 15 months between March of 2020 and June of 2021, and we had a very fast jump start back at the end of 2021. So we really did enjoy having the opportunity in 2022 to sort of step back, reevaluate, reprioritize, and see what we wanted to have happen at the Opera House and how we wanted to keep things moving forward for this year and for future years, and in case something uncertain happens again, like a pandemic comes raging back. So jumping into 2022, in January, our team, we sat down, we met, and we created a big 3 of goals that we hope to achieve over the course of the year and coming years. Those included things like creating tighter policies, better communication among ourselves and among other staff, and of course, preventing burnout. That's something very common in our industry, and we wanted to make sure that everybody is able to keep moving forward. We presented Roald Dahl's Matilda the Musical in February and March of 22. Matilda was our only main stage show from 2020 that had not been performed yet. And then the Opera House Foundation and Limelight's Youth Theater filled the remainder of the year with concerts and events including things like Echoes of Pompeii, the regional premiere of a new Elton John tribute band, which was sold out, 2 concerts featuring the Midwest Big Band, Judy B. Jones the Musical Jr., and we are currently, in fact right now, in rehearsal for Elf the Musical Jr. As of December 1st, 2022, we had sold 8,844 tickets, yielding a gross of $217,281 just in ticket revenue. Continuing in 2022, while that does reflect a continued recovery from loss in 20 and 21, we were able to secure a Shuttered Venues Organization grant, operators grant. I apologize for that. It was one-time federal funding. And that not only covered all 3 of our full-time salaries, it was $307,000 that we received. That covered all 3 of our full-time salaries. It also helped cover day-to-day expenses and some staff development. So it was really, really great to have that shot of money. A grant received from Indiana Arts Commission in the amount of $9,500 is able to be used to cover additional costs, including those related to productions, concerts, and classes. We're on a 2-year program with them right now, so every 2 years we receive this $9,500. So it really is a great grant for us to kind of keep things, again, moving forward. And then the foundation, Memorial Opera House Foundation, we hosted our first gala called Phantoms of the Opera House at the Expo Center on October 29th. It had multiple merchants, food vendors, opportunities to win great prizes, and a lot of contests.
It was awesome.
That guy will tell you it was awesome. A portion of proceeds.
That's right.
See? And we will be sharing a portion of those proceeds with the Porter County Animal Shelter. We're sort of sussing out final expenses right now, and we will make that determination here very shortly and try and get them a check before the end of the year. We are also hoping to make this an annual event on Halloween weekend every year. The Opera House Foundation also received $115,000 in individual contributions and grants from groups including NIPSCO, John W. Anderson Foundation, and Porter County Community Foundation. And again, these are vital because they help offset our costs of putting up productions, putting classes on, and making sure that we're able to bring the best and brightest as far as qualified contractors that are directors, designers, folks that build costumes, build sets, all of that. It's really important that we have quality programming, so that's what the Opera House Foundation helps fund. Limelight's Youth Theater has continued to grow. In fact, we established a really strong partnership with Boys and Girls Club this year. That's allowed us to have a great space for these growing classes. It also allows a little bit of relief on our building. If we have a concert or rehearsal or a build day lined up, we want to make sure that the kids have someplace safe to have classes. It also allows us to schedule multiple classes at the same time, and it does maximize that safety for students. And then we had a class called Frankenstein Slept Here, which was a Halloween class that ended in a performance. We had 20 students involved in every aspect of that production, all the way from stage managing and set design to directing the show. And then over the summer, we had performances of Raise Your Voice and Junie B. Jones. Those enabled us to serve over 60 youth and offer opportunities to perform with no cost to the students or families. And I want to highlight that really quickly. Many local programs do charge students to perform, and oftentimes those charges aren't upfront. So you have a kid that auditions for a show, and then they're told, okay, it's going to be anywhere from $40 to $800 for your kid to be a part of the show, and the parents are like, no. So the kid doesn't get the opportunity to perform. We want to make sure that it's accessible for all of our students. So if there ever is a fee involved, we're upfront about it, and if a family comes to us and says, I want to do this, but I simply can't, Memorial Opera House Foundation does have a scholarship fund in place to make sure that those kids have an opportunity to perform. Yes, sir?
Are any of your fees as high as $800?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Never.
It's like, holy cow.
No. So moving on into our partnership and growth, we have several great partners throughout the community that have helped us out as far as local businesses go. Family Express is one of them. Perea is another. Family Express donates approximately $4,000 worth of water to us a year. We in turn are able then to turn around and sell that at $2 a bottle. And I cannot tell you how much of a cost savings that is to us in the long run. And then Perea is also very, very generous when it comes to helping out with catering an event, or if we have somebody in for a concert and they're like, where do I go for dinner? Across the street. Ask for Jimmy and he'll make sure that you're taken good care of. Somebody else that I do want to mention too is Valpo Inn, the Valparaiso Inn. Jim Berman has been a really great partner housing a lot of these guest artists that come in for us. And then we're also able to offer several free events to the community this year, which included our annual Memorial Day concert. We were pleased to have the Valpo Community Band back in the building. Frankenstein Slept Here, which I mentioned earlier, which was in conjunction with Downtown Trick or Treat. And of course, Addicts Wake, which was hosted by Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then other partnerships and growth, we established a really great relationship with Valpo Events. We appeared at several community events, including the Farmers Market, Popcorn Fest, Holidays, the Art Walk that they had here, so a lot of really great opportunities there. Sons of the Union Vets of the Civil War, who are the descendants of the Grand Army of the Republic who founded our building, they have continued to meet in our building. They resumed their meetings after a 2-year hiatus due to safety concerns. They are really, really grateful for how well we've taken care of the building and that they still have access to the building. There are some concerns because their members are aging about navigating steps. So we're trying to figure out a way to handle, do we continue to meet upstairs? Do we look at them meeting on stage or in the East Lounge downstairs? Do we look at the building next door? Because they're also expanding. They are now crossing, and I got this email this morning, they're starting to work with the Sons of the American Revolution as well. So a lot of the group members from Sons of the American Revolution are also eligible to be SUVCW guys, so they're looking at an expansion of about 20 more members. So again, just more people coming into the building that understand and are there for the purpose that we're there. Our staff, we continue to prioritize building our skills through professional development. Our box office manager, Ray, has pursued several developmental courses. She's doing an excellent job of helping out with marketing, developing solid relationships with local businesses for us. I've pursued my own continuing ed through Indiana University School of Philanthropy and completed certified fundraising manager coursework. This is, of course, due to PCCF making sure that this is something that was manageable both fund-wise and time-wise. They invited several community leaders to this, and it was something that was really wonderful to be able to take advantage of. I also continue to work with Northwest Indiana Urban League as a facilitator for their diversity and inclusion programs, working with groups like Purdue Northwest, Centier Bank, the YMCA of Lake County, and People's Bank. And I also served as their MC for their D&I Awards luncheons in October. The American Association of Community Theater, AACT, is what that's known as. They've been a really great resource for our staff. Through COVID and through the past several years, they've offered a lot of roundtables, they've offered a lot of conference calls, they've offered in-person conferences and master classes and webinars. Those also offer continuing ed credits for our staff for any certifications that they may be seeking. And I have also started a 3-year term as a member of their national board, and currently I work with their finance and development committees. So I'm looking forward to continuing that work for the next several years. So looking at 2023, we've launched a full season, so we are very, very excited to present 5 main stage shows again. And in 1 week of subscription sales, we generated about $20,000 in ticket sales. That was as of turning in this report last week. This morning I looked and we were closer to $30,000. So again, it's very exciting to see that growth. Those funds we're moving over to the county as they come in, and that will certainly help us get a jump start on our 2023 season. We also look to host many new programs and opportunities for all members of our community to participate in the arts, and this next one that I'm going to talk about is one that I'm the most excited about, and that is, next slide, that's the Penguin Project. So in March of '23, we're launching the first chapter here in Indiana of the Penguin Project. So this is an all-inclusive program that allows students that would typically be unable to participate in the arts because of physical or mental limitations. They have the opportunity to perform center stage. It's also a mentoring program, so it helps to normalize disabilities amongst everybody, which I think is incredible. Serves ages 7 to 21. We've partnered up with Boys and Girls Club and OE to offer a really safe and stable environment for them to thrive during the rehearsal period. And we'll be presenting Annie the musical in September for 1 weekend with these kids. It's free to anybody who wishes to participate as either an artist or a mentor. So we're very, very excited about that. We had a great meeting last night with our team that is going to be leading that. I think that'll be a really big kickoff here at the beginning of the year. We did begin the education tour about the Penguin Project, speaking at meetings with Valpo Noon Kiwanis. We've talked to the Valpo Creative Council and Opportunity Enterprises, and Eric, whom I mentioned earlier, he started contacting all of our local schools to say, are you a K through 12? Are you a K through 5? Do you offer special education services? And that's where we got the idea for him to become more of an ambassador of this program. And he has been excellent in that role. Next slide. We are continuing to partner with OE and Simply Amazing Market to offer concessions at all of our performances and concerts. We've begun the exploration of audio descriptive services, which those are for folks that are vision impaired and want to participate in our productions. So if I am visually impaired, I walk into the theater, I receive a headset, and a docent immediately begins describing to me what I'm seeing in the theater, as well as what's going on stage. And we are looking to enlist the help of Valparaiso High School speech and debate students to serve as those docents. We're also exploring sensory-friendly performances now of all of our main stage performances. These allow integration, again, of folks that have either physical or mental limitations, and they can see productions in a comfortable environment. So rather than turning lights off all the way, we're looking at going with dim house lights. We're looking at quieter sound effects and reduced flashes of light or strobes, things like that. We also had a donor that came up and funded the creation of what we call sensory kits. These include things like weighted blankets, fidget toys, sunglasses if necessary, earmuffs, things like that, so that if these are issues that create sensory issues, we have things available right there on hand for people to sign out at the box office. And then several individuals have already reached out to us about weddings for 2023. One of the first questions we ask them when they say they want to host their wedding at the Opera House is, okay, do you have a reception spot? And if the answer is no, we always recommend the Expo Center, because they're our sister venue. We want to see all boats rise. And Lori and I are going to try to develop some sort of package going into 2023 for folks.
Be a cool place to get married.
Yeah. The Opera House Foundation has several upcoming events on the books for 2023, including returning artists like Mega Beatles, Echoes of Pompeii, Cashbox Kings, and Lil Ed, Willie Nile, and Atlantic City Boys. So again, something for everybody in the community. I do want to highlight the Willie Nile concert for just a moment. That's set for June, and that is a fundraiser for Project ALS. And I'm very, very excited to work with that group, because I think that ALS is something that we really do need to continue doing research on to eradicate. So anything that we can do to help, I'm on board with. And then, of course, we will be adding Thursday night performances to our lineup now. So we'll be doing 12 shows instead of 9. And with that addition, we will continue our Theater for a New Audience program, which we started in 2014, but we'll be integrating it into opening night. So typically we see about 100 people from groups like Opportunity Enterprises, The Caring Place, Oddfellows, Housing Opportunities, Gabriel's Horn, and many, many others. So we'll continue this, but we will offer them seats free of charge, and they'll be integrated into all the opening night festivities. And then our second and third Thursday performances, we'll probably look at doing things like industry nights for folks that are educators, first responders, healthcare professionals, just whatever we can sort of figure out. We're working out those cogs now as we start planning into the season. So in conclusion, we're looking very forward to a very exciting 2023, return to being incredibly busy at what we do best, which is providing quality artistic experiences at a very reasonable cost. Our operating budget, as you know, is funded through ticket sales, and although the cost of just about everything has gone up, we are determined not to raise subscription prices for our loyal patrons. I've been overseeing our season ticket drive for 10 years, and that is something that we are sticking to our guns on. We will not raise those prices for our folks that are our most loyal. We continue to go above and beyond with our limited time and resources, but we absolutely love doing it. Because, yes, sir.
Are you raising your normal ticket prices?
We raised our normal ticket prices about 3 years ago for single ticket holders to make it a perk to be a subscriber. And so we want to make sure that people leave our building with the memories of great experiences. Again, always happy to discuss the arts and entertainment and how it truly affects quality of life for all residents of Porter County and beyond. As again, you are all aware, the arts play an important role engaging in civic discourse, providing forums for important issues, and encouraging collective problem solving. And personally, I look very forward to more opportunities to serve our community through the arts. And I will happily take any questions that you may have.
Scott, I mean, just the outreach is amazing.
Thank you.
You know, I knew what you guys were doing was phenomenal over there, but the outreach to all the different organizations that you're partnering with and getting into the, you know, other organizations that we support financially already, you know, that you're assisting with those, and you know, I want to be careful on, you know, words I use to describe, but, you know, just less fortunate, you know, people that may not have the opportunities, you know, whether it's from, you know, we're getting into the high schools, getting to kids, to some of the other organizations that, you know, the Penguin program that you're putting on. That's cool. Just amazing, the outreach that we're doing. And with that, there was I don't know, I'll butcher it, but, you know, I don't know who said it, but it was, you know, people aren't judged, a country, or we can say a government's not judged on how they treat the fortunate, it's how you treat the less fortunate, And that's what, I see us doing through you, and what we do with our foundation and stuff, what we do, and give to the other organizations, the nonprofits that we give to on an annual basis, but what you're doing over there is phenomenal on the outreach, so, I will continue to support you in every way I can and what we're doing there, so.
Thank you.
And not only your outreach, but like your shows are actually good. Thank you. They're good. They're entertaining.
Thank you.
I never thought I'd like it, and I do.
Yeah. See, that's what we do. Thank you, Andy.
Scott, I would just like to say, I've been a part of this for 8 years, so finishing 8 years, and I think you just celebrated 10 years with the Opera House. And I can tell you from where we were back in 2014 at least, to where we are today, it's absolutely transformed.
Thank you.
And, to Jeremy's point about the outreach and the community engagement and the cooperative spirit you have with, all the local organizations and your sister venue within the county, I mean, it's your attitude and your approach that makes it so welcoming.
Thank you.
And creates that desire to be engaged. So the appreciating the efforts and the contribution that you folks make to the arts on a very technical and professional level, but also taking it out to those groups to expand their horizons too and make such a special moment for all those people, I think is terrific. So, and it all lends itself to the incredible quality of life that we have here in Porter County. And it makes it that much more magical, I think. And so clearly you've made very specific impact. You're making a difference, and your team is making a difference. And I think you should be very, very proud of it. And of course, it starts at the top, for better or worse, as you know. And I'm very much looking forward to the future.
Thank you.
In terms of programming, venue utilization, and giving you even better tools to use to go out and do what you do so well. And couldn't be any more confident that with your leadership, the future is very, very bright for the Memorial Opera House. And so I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Sounds like he's auditioning for a part.
Yeah, it's almost
I do have experience.
I don't know, cultural outreach and inclusion. I mean, it's important. It is, to the quality of life. It's cultural outreach and inclusion. It's who we are. I mean, and I appreciate that, so.
Thank you.
Is there any, thank you very much.
Thank you for your work.
Keep up the good work.
Information very helpful.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
does anybody else got anything?
For the meetings or for him?
For him? For the meeting?
I wanted to thank you for your service the past, for 2 years that I've been on the council, you've been the council president, and you keep saying in this meeting that you're not going to be the council president next year. So thank you for serving in the council president role.
Well, I was going to say that, Andy. I don't know. I think it's been so long. I think it's been 3 years, and it's been, maybe it's been 2. I
wasn't on it for a year.
COVID was a challenge in which we all stuck together. I think we went offline and online only for a brief amount of time. We weren't going to, I dare say it, we weren't going to hide. I mean, we came and did our work. I think we did 1 or 2 online meetings, and that was a tough time that nobody knew. And we stuck together, we worked together. We never stopped doing our job. We never stopped finishing the projects. We never stopped working. They never stopped. You guys, I appreciate you guys, allowing me, to be president of the council. And that's going to change, but I'm not going anywhere. But I'll be right here.
Make a motion to remove Jeremy as president.
It's
a joke, Jeremy, joking.
You wouldn't be the first person that wanted it. We made it.
Sensitive.
Yeah. Like an Andy. No, I appreciate it. I really enjoyed the last 8 years. You guys can't even believe. Thank you, over and over again. Thank you guys. This board is an example of how government is supposed to function. The last 8 years is an example of how county government or any unit of government is supposed to function. I'm proud to be a part of it. No, we don't agree on everything. No, sometimes people, show up and try to disrupt and maybe not agree with us all the time, but we stay focused and we're doing the work of the people. And we've done it. I thank you guys. I look forward to, next year, so. And
You finished?
nope, I got another 4 years.
You're not going That was a good. You just say your goodbyes so fast. What I would like to do is just express my specific appreciation to the auditor's office.
Yes.
And, I started, I guess I started when you started, right? And so didn't know quite what to expect, although I witnessed some of the activities prior to it. And I can just tell you with you, Vicki, and Tony, and with Tiffany too, I mean, you three have done a wonderful job. The level of professionalism that you've devoted and the work ethic that the three of you, and I'm sure your whole department, have devoted to the county is a monster win for the taxpayers of Porter County. And the level of professional expertise, I mean, I think is unprecedented from my view anyway. And along with that, it's been an absolute pleasure, which is the cherry on top. So I appreciate all of that with all the sincerity in the world, and you set the bar very, very high, and wish you only the best in all the different things that both of you and Tiffany too end up doing going forward. But whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be great. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, I must say, I've been here through you're the third auditor that I've worked under, and everybody showed dedication and sincerity and wanting to do their job. But I think information technology has grown, and the expertise in the field that you have shown and dedicated yourselves in your department to providing us with accurate information, which makes our job so much easier. It's much easier to do a job when you really know what the figures are and what you're doing. And I want to thank you for that very much.
Way above and beyond the call.
Yes.
There's no question about it.
Yes, very much.
And I've also enjoyed sitting next to this guy, so we're going to miss Eric.
Oh, Eric, we're going to miss you.
I wish Mr. Brickner was here. Afterwards, Joy, maybe you can get a picture of us with the auditor and
Yes.
real fast afterwards. We'll gavel out of here. I wish Mike was here. Yeah, for sure. Eric, thank you. All of you. Andy, I mean,
I want to get a picture with Eric and his.
we're gonna march on. So, but you want to get what?
I
With
got a
plaque?
picture with
Yeah.
I've never done it.
So, all right. In terms of reorg, well, I'll talk to you guys.
Not January 1st, I'm not in town. Well, whenever you guys want, just so you know, I'm not in town January 1st.
When are you coming back?
January 2nd.
So I think we'll try to do it January 1st, then that'd be perfect. New Year's Day?
Honestly, that works. Yeah, even if I was in town, I wasn't coming.
All right, so we'll get, I'll try to get an email out and try to figure out what a good day. I suggest we do it right away the first week and, get it reorged so the new president can,
On your first meeting, you're supposed to adopt the resolution for carrying forward appropriations. I'm not sure how quickly they'll get up to speed if we'll do it being.
Thank you for that heads up.
But just FYI, that has to be done at your first meeting.
the first regular meeting of the month, correct? We always, I think,
I think you've always adopted, I don't know.
we do it we might have done it at the reorg meeting, yeah.
I don't remember, that's a good question.
Yeah, but all the encumbrances, yep, for sure. So, all right.
Motion to adjourn?
It's a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
What happened to the post? I get hit the page. Not this time.
What if you did that?
I don't know.